Now, shall we turn to 1 Timothy chapter 3? Verse 15 is our theme verse. Now, as you know, if you look at verse 15 and even verse 16, especially verse 15, we went into detail about almost every word there. But those of you who are observant, you notice that there's one word that we have not covered. What is it? Look at verse 15. Behave. Behave thyself. Behave. What is it? What is behave? Now, my messages have often overflowed in the camp, and I have a backlog, right? Now, this is an important closing. I think it's a closing. We have been charged in the last message. 1 Timothy repeatedly has the word charge. Paul received a charge from Christ, a work committed to him and charged to be faithful in. And he made it very clear to Timothy, now I pass this charge to you to charge the people in the church of the living God. Now, after being charged, we need to know how to behave. No use having a charge, but not knowing how to behave. So the title today is about the next C, which is the conduct needed. The conduct needed. Because this word behave is about our conduct. Now we want to look first at the conduct expected. The conduct expected. We have returned from camp, and I hope that there is a zeal in us to say, Lord, the zeal of your house has eaten me up. I desire now to live for you, for your kingdom's work, not for selfish, self-centered purposes and pursuits anymore. This is my home. This is my family. I realize that now. I cannot live for myself anymore. Now, by then the question is, what do I do next? The conduct. Look at verse 15. But if I tarry long, that thou mayest know. We understood what know is. Examine, study carefully, really look deep into matters, meditate, bring it into your own life, and cherish it, love it. How thou oughtest to behave. Know how to behave. Examine how you need to behave. And then from there on, cherish that this is the new way of living. I cherish it, not I hate it. We know, we cherish what we know. Now we say, during our sharing, which I was very moved, many now understand this is family. Family is where the heart is. But we have to know how to behave. So the conduct expected. Now, what is this word behave? What is this word behave? A few things. Take down the definitions, then we expand on it in applications. Now, first and foremost, it means, actually, it is describing someone who is sojourning, someone who is traveling. You say, huh? But this word is really describing a sojourner. But it's used metaphorically to describe behavior, all right? Now, what is this sojourner's life like? Now, this sojourner is trying to find a place to dwell in. Now, and while he is doing so, he would turn hither and thither. He would turn here and there, all right? He looks, and he says, not this, not this. Then he will go to another. He will focus on another place. Not this. Like some of you, if you're, you have to buy or you have to rent a place. You are very picky, right? You must know this is a big investment. This is a big monthly investment. You can't really be picky in Australia nowadays, I think. But you still want to make sure this is the one, right? When you know that this is the place, this is the state that I want to be in, and I will then stay there. That is why you will keep scanning, keep changing, all right? So you're very busy in that state, looking for that. Your mind is preoccupied, finding a place where you can settle in and be stable. And from there, you focus on your life. Now, but it also describes this hither and thither, looking. Now, it describes a person is willing to turn his life upside down. Turn his life upside down to get to such a state where his heart can be settled, where he knows this is the state of my life. He will stop at nothing. He is willing to overturn his life. So these are the definitions of this sojourner. He looks at his life now. If I were to want to stay in this place or achieve this state of heart and life, whatever that I am now having that is in its way, I will overturn it. Now, not only that, so it's a very serious searching. He is willing to turn back. Meaning to say, he may have kind of like felt maybe this is uncomfortable, or maybe in his heart he says, well, I like this particular situation, this state of heart and mind. I like it. But when he examines further, he begins to realize, this is really, if I'm honest, not a good place for me to be in. Even if he wanted to stay on, he will turn back. He will turn his back on it. And in turning his back, if he needs again to turn his life upside down, to overturn everything that in his mind he's been having as a preconception, he will overturn it. Now, this is the description of this word behave. The behavior of a sojourner is the emphasis. So, metaphorically, it is about how one would conduct, hence the title, the conduct needed. One who would conduct his own behaviors. How he would live and stay in that state. Now, that is this word behave. Now, why is it important to understand all this? We'll see in its applications, all right? So remember, God chose a word to describe us sojourning. Now, but not only that, look at verse 15. Now it says to behave thyself. It did not stop there. Now, this word behave intrinsically already has this idea of how I will conduct my own life. Intrinsically, it already means it's something that you do from something that is driven from within you. But God is not happy to just use this word. He would add this word, this reflexive pronoun, thyself. Behave thyself. Now, what is the expected behavior besides what we've just described, metaphorically? Now, the expected behavior is self-driven conduct. Thyself. It is not something that you need someone to remind you. Not something that is where you need to be forced by your parents, forced by the church. You don't see any of this turning around, turning upside down, going here and there, and constantly checking, is this the right thing? Is this the right thing? You don't need anyone to drive you. Now, if you need to find a rental place, you know it's a need. You don't need someone to keep reminding you. In fact, you probably need to be reminded, stop thinking, learn to trust God. Constantly on your mind. Self-driven. So he says, behave thyself. Now, there are a few things you must learn then about this expected conduct, since it's thyself. Now, number one, let's learn from this word, right? This word behave. Now, to turn oneself around, that is one of the things. I must turn myself around. I must overturn things that I'm used to even. Just like you come to a place and say, you know, I am a person who is obsessed with cleanliness. Then you go there and say, this place isn't exactly what I think I like. But I say, well, I have to overturn that. I have to be practical. This is what I can afford. Right? Or you go to a place and then, well, you love certain things. Right? You love to play football, you love to play badminton. But it's so far away from all these facilities. You have to now get up earlier. You have to now take longer transport journeys. But you say, well, I have to just change my expectations, overturn some of these things in my life. Now it's that picture. And why would you do all this? So the first thing we must learn is we must be so conscious. Conscious. Oh, please strike that. I want to start with committed first. We must be so committed. Committed. You are so committed to find the right place. You say, now, this place is where I can spiritually benefit the most, but it's physically not what I anticipated. Not as comfortable as it looks. But I know this place is what I need spiritually. You commit to that. You don't commit to what your flesh desires. This is the meaning of how thou oughtest to behave thyself. You commit to a spiritual walk, a state of spiritual walk. This is metaphorical, right? To them is a place where I stay in. But this is a state of a Christian walk, a Christian life. I know now I belong to a spiritual family. And a spiritual family, for that I must commit to a spiritual, consecrated life. You commit to it. You don't say, well, I don't really like this place because it's far from my house, whatever it is. No, you commit. And also, now remember this idea of overturning, turning around. There may be things that you begin to realize after church camp, I hope we do, that our flesh has always loved. And it's uncomfortable to now need to stay in a certain state of Christian living. It's uncomfortable. And what does God choose in terms of what? Behave, means overturn. This is a change of life. Commitment to a radical change. What is it? Family? What is it? Your personal life? What is it? In your life as an elderly? What is it that you have never bothered to deal with it or have been avoiding? I don't want to think about it. I don't want to deal with it. Now this word commit thyself, these words, it means from within, now you make a decision to overturn my life in areas which I have let continue for too long already. I know what God has been pointing out in me, but I just don't want to think about this. You have known what the church is. It is the house that is the church. House which is the church. It is not the church which is the house. You know that now. If you are born into a family with a family business, I shared this at camp, the commitment is different. Yes, you struggle with, I want to go out with my friends. You struggle, I want to spend time with my own hobbies, but because it is family's business, the home, the church, the house which is the church, you will still commit to go to the shop to help. You will. You have to now make up your mind. I don't like this. I do not want to give up this. These friendships, this pursuit, this secret sin, I commit now to overturn it. So this is a picture of the sojourner. It begins with this mindset. I'm ready to overturn anything to find that spiritual state of my life where I will dwell there. And if there is anything that I realize is holding me back, I turn my back on it. The discipleship, take up, deny self. I turn my back on it. I'm willing to do that. But it means turning my back on friends, on commitments that, well, I love. Now I turn my back on it. So that's the first thing, dear friends, I hope that you begin to build in yourself, as I build that in myself. What have you committed in your reflection to the Lord? What was that commitment? Lord, this is my secret sin. I will no longer go back to it. Help me. Find help. I've said many times, I'm available 24/7. Find help. How do I overcome this? I'm committed to it. Now, the next behavior expected in behave thyself is consciousness to watch ourselves. After you have committed that you will deal with these things, after you're committed to a life of consecration, now you are conscious to watch that commitment. Now, this person, as he travels, he will keep looking and he will keep going from here, this place, to another place. Why would he change direction? Because as he enters this place, no, not this. Because he's conscious. What he's looking for, I'm conscious of what I'm looking for. So Christians, what I'm saying is this. Now we have to be constantly asking ourselves, is this a behavior? Is this a state of Christian living? Is this a type of mentality that I should have? Consciously asking that all the time. No, this is not. It's time to change direction. Time to move away from such thinking. So this man, as he travels, he's like that. He reaches a place, he thought this might be it. Sometimes as we live our Christian life, I think this is how I should live. I think this is okay. I think this is fine. Be conscious to really check it against God's word. Is this really something that God will be pleased with? Or it is something that my flesh is pleased with? It is something that, I want to keep doing, so I deceive myself. Be conscious, stop deceiving self. Am I deceiving self? This constant carefulness to be honest, that is the consciousness we are talking about. Lord, I've been living this way, and I've been always saying this is fine. I've been always behaving this way. I've been saying this is fine. But why is it that it seems to be causing problems in my life? Let's be honest. If God convicts you of something, don't fight and say, why? Why? Why, Daddy, Mommy? Why, church? Be conscious to ask, is this what I need to deal with? Consciousness, all right? Always turning hither and there and hither and thither and watching. Does this fit what I commit to be? Does this fit? No, it doesn't fit. But I like it. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stop, overturn my life, overturn my behavior. So this is a picture of someone who constantly finding out about, Lord, can you show me what other areas am I disobedient in? I am not happy to stay in this state. Constantly checking our sins and then moving away from it. Change direction. Need to change my whole outlook. Change my lifestyle. Downgrade. Whatever. This overturn can cost you significantly. We often say we cannot. It is because we would not. We will not bear the cost of changing directions. That is the problem. We know if we trusted God, God will never fail us. We like to talk about that. God, you will never fail us. God, you're all-powerful, omnipotent, omniscient. But when it comes to the crunch, we dare not trust him. We love our sins too much as well. So this person turns hither and thither. If I turn this down, if I am not here, what's going to happen? No, this is not the state of spirituality I need to be in. And to change, to overturn, it is going to I have to bear great cost. It may cost my family. It may cost my children. I may need to disenroll them, I might de-enroll them from certain things because we cannot afford it anymore. I must change my own lifestyle as a single. I must change my expectations about what I want in life. I'm ready to change direction. So when God says, you know now, you need to behave in a certain way. And that is commitment, consciousness. Then the last one, the expectation. Constantly controlling ourselves. You made a commitment. This is the consecrated life picture that I have. Then you constantly, you consciously watch, is it meeting? Is my life meeting it? Am I happy in a place that I shouldn't be in? Then after that, when you realize that you constantly control your behavior. That is why it has this picture. Turning hither and thither. Turning oneself around. Constantly controlling. I like to continue in this kind of behaviors. That is how I've always grown up. I like these friendships. I like these activities that I have with friends in school, my colleagues outside. I like this lifestyle that I have. I'm too entrenched in it. If I move out, I have to sell this, sell that. My children's life will change. My desires will also have to be downgraded. Then you control yourself. Behave thyself. Then you exert that endurance, that perseverance. We learn, then you purge yourself of sin. Then you flee from it. Then you follow after righteousness. How can you do all this without controlling yourself? The soldier is always needing to control his desires. He may be tired. We learn about the Christian soldier, right? He may be tired, but he remembers that the general who chose me, the privilege that I have to serve in this army, I will control my behaviors because it will affect others. You know, one of the things for those of you who went through the military in your country, you will understand. It was something that I never understood when I first had to serve national service as a soldier. When someone makes a mistake, the whole group of us have to be punished. Make a mistake, drop 10, means you have to do 10 push-ups, right? But I didn't make the mistake. I did not understand the concept. Sometimes it's very frustrating because they are always what they call the Bobo King or Wowo King. They're just blur and they always make mistakes. And then we keep suffering. Now later when I had to train soldiers, then I began to realize the concept. If one soldier doesn't exercise self-control, it can cost everybody's life. So when this soldier, I am the cause of everybody's suffering now. Because I would not control myself. I just did what I wanted to do. I would not control my thinking and say, if I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to do this. My left leg goes forward, my left leg goes forward. Right? I have to be consciously always watching. What's the command? Turn left. I must consciously listen. I must consciously control myself. Discipline myself to pay attention. Now when he doesn't, then he makes that mistake. And then he will see everybody suffering. Now this is what God, these are principles from God's word. One suffers, all suffer. Why? Because sin, your lack of control, will cause others also to fall. Then I began to understand that concept very well. Because this is not war, this is peacetime. You must learn this in peacetime. That when you go out to battle, you must be so committed. You must be so conscious to be watchful. And you must be so self-controlled and disciplined as a soldier, because your mistake can cost lives. And that is exactly the Achan's effect. I won't control my lust. I will just take the Babylonian garments. I will hide it. I won't control my pride. I want these garments. Later, I'll put it on later on. Then I will be the unique one in the camp of Israel. No one has this, because everything is supposed to harem. Means every piece of clothing there to be burnt. But I have this kind of clothing. It will be one of a kind in Israel. Pride. I want the silver. I want the gold. When we reach the promised land, I can use this to buy a lot of things that I want. No one will know. Then I can walk around with a lot of possessions. The lust. As we've been studying in prayer meeting, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, the pride of life. What is it? Everything in Achan's life. He would not exercise control. Who died? His own children, his wife. 30 over innocent men died in battle. When I read that, I keep thinking about my military days. This would have been real if I went to battle and someone just can't be bothered to be committed or conscious or control himself. Real lives will be lost. Why was it reinforced? Because of that. So when God says that thou mayest know how to behave thyself, let us remember this picture in our minds. Be ready to turn our lives upside down. Change directions that we are so used to, so accustomed to this life. Are you willing to change? And then after that, consciously, constantly controlling ourselves. Reach here, no, this is not how I should live. No, this, you are with a group of people. Then this is the behavior. No, this is not how I should behave. No, I must control myself. I must rein myself in. No, my behaviors will affect others. I must control myself. I want to say this. I want to act this way. I want to go and I want to tell them to do this and do that with me. No, I must control myself from now onwards. You control yourself not to be a bad example to your children and cause them to sin. Why would not you control yourself in the family of God? It's not about you anymore. Tarry for one another reminds us about that. So that is, let me see. All right, so that is about the conduct expected. The conduct expected. Now then we come to the conduct's aim. The aim of this conduct. Because you say, I choose to have this conduct. But the question is, what's the aim? Because if you have wrong aim, you have wrong conduct. Right? What is the aim of the conduct? Look at verse 16. We've already established this in the camp. What is the aim of Christ coming to die for us? Look at verse 16. And without controversy, great is the mystery of godliness. Godliness is the aim. Now, it was a mystery to the angels. They thought, well, why would our God come to earth? Look at verse 16. God manifests in the flesh. Why would he take on flesh? It's insane. He's God. Then justified in the spirit. Why would he go through abuse and false accusations that only the spirit justifies him? And men will say, you're not God, and call him having a spirit of the devil. Why would he go through all this? Not justified of men, but justified only of the Spirit. Sin of angels. The reminder. Angels were there to assist his physical flesh. Sin of angels. And angels know who he is. Angels know who he is. Why would he, who the angels know who he is, come and do all this? Preach unto the Gentiles. Oh, so that he be known to the Gentiles. Believed on. Oh, so that people will believe him. Received up in glory. Returned to his glory. Why did he do all this? Then go back. Why don't just stay in his glory? Why go through all this? It is called a mystery. Christian, do you know the mystery Or should I say, have you known the end of this mystery? It's the mystery of godliness. It is so that Christ can put together a family that is filled with godly men and women at all ages. That is the mystery. It is not just, I wonder why Christ came. Yeah, I wonder what he sees in me. We always say, I wonder, I wonder, I wonder. We need not wonder anymore. It's to bring unto himself a family of people that are godly, because only godliness can do the work of the church. That is the aim, godliness. Now, I've already said earlier on in the camp, when you search the word godliness, right, just godliness, in the New Testament, it occurs 15 times, right? And 10 times, 2/3 of it, occurs in 1 and 2 Timothy. 9 times in 1 Timothy. The theme, or we say the aim of the conduct is clear. After he talked about the conduct in God's house, he talked about the mystery to remind us about godliness. Christians, you cannot say, I want to be a Christian, and you say, but I don't want to be a very godly Christian. I'm willing to be somewhat godly. Christ died to make you godly, not somewhat godly. And if you are not godly, you will affect his home. You are part of the home. You cannot run away. No child can say, I just want to be a black sheep, I just want to be a black sheep, it's my own business. You will affect the home. You are saved to be godly. You are saved to be a sheep that follows Christ. Now, what is this word godly then? This is my aim. My conduct changes as I go to every place, as I reach every state of mind, of thinking, as I examine any behaviors, any choice of my life that I've made. Now, what is the aim? Check if it is contributing to godliness. Is this contributing to godliness or not? Not just that. Is this contributing to the best godliness? Because Christ died, finished the work completely, not to create partial godliness, but pure, perfect godliness. What is godliness? Now, this word means reverence. Reverence. It means a deep inner devotion. So when you see this word godliness, it comes from an attitude of reverence and devotion to God. To do what? Now, it has to do with righteous living. Righteousness. Righteous living. It has to do with spiritual maturity. That's the definition. Spiritual maturity and righteous living, but it is something that is out of devotion to God. A man or woman after God's own heart. So God says, I died. The angels marveled at why I would come and do all this, then return to heaven. Why go through all this? Because I want to create family members, my brethren, that live righteous lives. The aim for spiritual maturity, which is why we listen to the morning devotion on sanctification. But this family member does it because of devotion to me, the owner of the house. Devotion, love. Not anger, not unwillingness, not half-heartedness, not being compelled. So this is godliness. The mystery is known. The aim, the conduct is to aim for that. Now then we want to learn a few dangers. A few dangers. All right? The dangers of the conduct. Now that we know the aim, the heart is very deceptive. We can think that, yes, I am on the way to this aim, but are we really? Are our conduct truly godly? I have about 6 more pages on that. So there will be another C next week. But I hope this week for this week, the conduct expected is clear. The picture is clear. My current state of living, my mentality towards any particular thing in life, my behavior, my speech, let me consciously examine it. Is this the state of spirituality and behavior I should remain in? Or should I now overturn some things? Should I now really go and move and find that state which will contribute to maximum godliness? I am not satisfied with this state. And once I find it, I will be so conscious. Am I falling back again? Am I again behaving like that? Am I thinking like that again? Am I doing that again when I'm with people? Conscious of it. Then exercise self-control. Stop. I share one last thing. I've got 3 minutes and then we end. There was once someone who was very troubled in his heart. And we couldn't figure out what. And he said, so he started to avoid people in church. And I had to try all sorts of ways to find out. The family couldn't find out as well. Then finally he opened up. He said, Pastor, the message about vain words, babblings, really spoke to me. And he said, I realized that is me. That is my life, all my life. I just talk rubbish. I just say whatever comes to my mind. And I enjoy, just having a good time and laughing. And he said that he realized that he's affecting people in church whenever he's in a group. And he says, because sometimes I will start interacting with people when I'm ready. We're going to figure out what we mean we are ready. And he said, until I fix this mouth, it's best that I don't stumble people. It's best that I don't change people. It's best that I don't sin against God with my mouth. Now my heart really melted at that stage. How many of us have that kind of mentality of behavior changes? If I know I'm a problem, I am affecting others. I didn't know what he said. I don't know what is the problem actually, but he knows that in himself. If we are people like that, where we say, I know that my behavior is affecting others, I will control it. I will be so conscious of it. And I commit to fix it. Well, I have to explain to him, we are all going through progressive sanctification. Quarantining yourself, while I understand your heart, is not the right solution. It is to learn to change as you interact with people. Otherwise, how do you learn to change? Right? Yes, you want to be more careful. That's good. But shutting yourself from everyone is not what God intends. But I ask you again, how many of us would be like that? I am not settling here. This is not good. I will do everything I can to fix my sin. And he did it. Not because of personal holiness. And we learn that. You stop sinning in your house, in your home, because you do it because you know it will affect lives in your home. He did it because of that. Now that is the meaning. After you know what the house is, then know how you ought to behave. It has a cost. He wanted to overturn his life. Now let us rise to sing the closing hymn. 387. Shall we turn to 387? 387.